Hey everybody, before we start on today's episode, I want to announce some great news. We've got some great new product designs hitting our merchandise website. I have a link down in the description, but I'll also put it here on the screen for you guys. We've got great new logos. We've also got our classic logos with the X19, the 124, the 850, and our classic Garage Time TV logo. But we've got some new designs, which I know some people have been asking for, and we are releasing our long sleeve and hoodie merchandise for the fall and winter season. So those will all be active when this video comes through. And we have some great sales for you guys as well. But our great new designs, we've got one with the logo on the front, and on the back it says, "I need my garage time." I know a lot of us decompress in the garage, me especially, so that one resonates really with home. We've also got some new stuff involving the bus. Some people have been asking for some bus stuff, so make sure you guys check it out. I'll put a link down in the description. But good news is on the 25th, which is the Saturday after this video drops, so this will drop on Black Friday, and on that Saturday it's a 1 day only 30% off everything in the shop, 30% off of everything, 1 day only on the 25th, so make sure you take advantage of that. But if you miss out on the 25th 30% off sale, don't worry, we have another one right after that, the 26th, which is that Sunday, all the way through that Friday, with 15% off plus free shipping on your order. So you make sure you guys take advantage of that. The holidays are coming. I know some people like to get stuff for Christmas, but we have that sale going on right after this video comes out. Now, if you want to make the holidays, you have to order before December 11th to get it by Christmas in the domestic US. So make sure you guys get those orders in as soon as possible to make sure you get it for the holidays. But we've got some great new stuff for the merchandise. Make sure you guys check it out down in the description down below. I'll put that link. But enough of that. Let's jump into the video. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here at Garage Time TV. I am Marshall, and we are jumping back on our 86 Bertone X19. Last week we did a bunch of trim pieces, our headlight bezel, we put on new belts, the front grille, the end tip, and painted our spoiler. All sorts of great stuff to bring this car more together. And we took it on a nice long drive, about a 55 mile loop. Freeway, street driving, ran fantastic. I ended up running some chores with this car after the fact, and it started to act up on me. So come to find out, I had run over our O2 sensor, and when I ran it over, it ended up pulling it, pulling the wire out. The wire wasn't routed correctly, so it got wrapped in the CV axle and yanked it right out, and the car started running horribly, which makes sense because now the computer doesn't know how much fuel it needs, and things aren't talking to each other, and now we have a problem. Luckily, I was able to kind of limp around to a couple parts stores and found one, so there is a new O2 sensor in there. So that's good. I thought that solved my problem. I replaced it, plugged it in, fired right up, great, no problem, started driving. Nope, still had an issue. So it was kind of bogging down, it was jerking really bad and all sorts of stuff like that, even having the O2 sensor replaced. So I think what's happening is our fuel line, or our fuel filter, or our fuel pump got clogged. Now, unfortunately, the fuel pumps on these are before the filter. So the filter catches it after it's already gone through the pump, but if you get some big chunks in there, the pump can clog up and things like that. And I think that's kind of what happened. So we're gonna have to pull this out and blow through that line and see if that's what our issue is. This is an original tank. I did clean it out pretty thoroughly. I got a lot of stuff out of it. But there still could be some stuff that still finally broke loose. A lot of the roads I was driving on about a week ago now were pretty rough. So stuff could have gotten knocked loose and into that fuel line. So that's going to be priority number one, is to get that blown through. The other thing I want to try to do today is get my heat working. I really want to drive this thing more, and as it's getting into the fall season and closer towards the end of the year, which is crazy to think about, I would really like to have heat. The heat doesn't work, but funny enough, the AC does. It's kind of backwards. But I want to have the heat working as well. That way I can at least tolerate driving around with this thing and not freeze my hands off. I like my figures. So we're going to throw this away and see if we can get this fuel line cleared out first and see if that really was our issue. And if that's resolved, we'll move on to the heat. So a couple things we want to achieve today. Lots of stuff to do this afternoon, so I'm trying to do it before the afternoon. So anyway, let's get to it. But the one thing I really need to do is clean, because I've got stuff just everywhere and I can't find nothing. So we're gonna clean for a little bit, put on some music, clean it all up, get a good tool reset, and then jump into it. So let's throw this away, start cleaning, and then jump on the car. now that we can actually, you know, use our workbench and move around in here, now that everything's put away, we've got the X out. I'm not going to really move the bus. I want to have some room to move here. I don't really want to get any gas or fluids on that concrete. I'd rather do it out here where it already looks great. So we're going to pop this. The fuel pump is on this side. So to give myself a little bit more room, I think I'm going to pull it out a little bit more out this way. But the fuel pump is on this side. We're going to have to remove the air filter, a couple of things to get to it. But there is like a skid plate on the bottom that protects it. So we're going to have to remove that as well. I think it's just got some 10mm bolts that hold it in. But I did pick up a new Wix filter. It has a 1/2-inch line from the tank to the fuel pump, then switches down to 3/8 from the fuel pump outlet side to the fuel rail. So I had to get a little bit bigger fuel filter, but this one is a filter that goes before the fuel pump. So we're going to have one before and one after. This is a factory style. You see it's got a 3/8 fitting there. But this is one that's going to have the 1/2-inch fitting, much bigger, that'll go before the fuel pump to catch anything else. So that is just a good security anyway, just to have it before the pump. So let's get the car out. We'll get underneath there. We'll probably have to jack up just this side and start cutting lines and making a huge mess and getting gas down your arm, which is super nice too. We're gonna pump it up, push it out, pump it up, then start cutting and blowing with some compressed air, all sorts of good stuff. So let's unbury the jack that we put away and get that out and get it up. This is that skid plate I was telling you about. There's some 10mm that hold us in place. There's one. Just like that. And it exposes our fuel line. So this is our feed line. This is a 1/2-inch line I was telling you about, and this just kind of, you know, protects it from the road. But what we're gonna want to do is go up in here. That line is a little kinked. We need to fix that too. But this is our return. This is what that is, and that's kinked. So we need to make some adjustments there. But somehow we need to figure out a way to put a 1/2-inch filter in here. Now we may cut it here and just push up on this, but our fuel pump is right here. And I have some new, well, these are pretty okay. I was gonna replace these rubber little isolators here, but they're actually pretty good shape. So we might have to slide the pump up and the little clamp here. It's kind of hard to see. There you go. There's a clamp that holds the pump, so we might have to slide it up further in the pump to make up for that, because I definitely want to keep using the skid plate to protect it. So maybe we'll just have to, I don't know. I think the best thing to do is just, we're gonna have to go for it, just cut it, because this is the bottom. We don't really have much more of a choice. So if we cut this, we're gonna have to get a little drain pan, because it will start leaking oil pretty quick, or oil. God, it better not be oil in that gas tank. Start leaking gas. And then we can quickly stab that filter in with the clamps and tighten that up. But what I also want to do before I even do that is get my compressed air and blow air both ways. So we're gonna have to go up. Maybe we can reach it from down here. Let's take a look. It's gonna be kind of tough to, maybe if we unbolt the pump, it should come down a little bit maybe. But what I want to do is blow air up through the pump as well, in case there is any buildup in here. I want it to just kind of get blown out and up, and then otherwise we have to remove our big air filter box, which is that big round thing up there. So that's gonna be kind of a pain to do as well, but that may be our best bet. If we unhook it from the filter up there, maybe a little bit closer. The factory filter is up at the top, so if we unhook it from that, we should be able to blow up through there and have a towel ready. But we're definitely gonna need to address that kink, because that's not returning much anything. So maybe we need to work on some of this too, but as you can tell, it's a little tight.
That's what she said.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Okay, so it's a little tight to get us in here and you guys, but I'll try and do it for that. But as far as like getting this fixed and screwing all the stuff back up, it's gonna be tough to show you, but you get the idea. I'll definitely show you if anything comes out of that fuel line, because I'm sure it's gonna be pretty gnarly. Let me grab everything we need, drain pan, air hose, all that good stuff. That way we can start blowing through it and see if that's really our issue. So we've got the air filter out of the way. Got a nice big cavity here. Removed the little boot from our AFM as well, if I can get the words to come out. But I've got a nice big towel here. What we're going to be doing is the top first, this top hose off the filter. Then we'll go to the bottom. We're just going to be releasing the pressure. If you notice, I actually pushed the car out. I didn't start it because I didn't want to repressurize the system after sitting for a week. So I'm hoping we lost a little bit of pressure just over time of it feeding back through. I don't want to have crazy leaks of gas everywhere, especially when I have to go down and lay in it. There it goes. Well, fuel looks good. Okay, you can stop any time now. Well, there's a lot more gas in that than I thought. I think I'm just going to have to undo the filter to give me any sort of chance of this thing to stop draining out so much. I'm just going to refill anyway, but I'm not trying to leak it all over. There. Man, it was still coming out. All right, that is now soaked with gas, which is fantastic. And it's just getting on my hands. All right, well, let me try and wrestle this thing off, and then maybe we can actually do something. Would you just let go?
A few moments later.
So we've got the filter off, and it made a little bit of a mess as it was still full of fuel, but the fuel line was all the way to the brim with gas, and I can't wait to lay it down and let it flood all over the place. So what I did, and of course I didn't have the camera on when I did this, but I took my air hose and I just go backwards through it. Now I have mine set at like 90 psi, but I'm not, you know, full boring it. I'm just easing it out, and I can actually hear the return line working. So I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you should hear bubbles through that return line. Hear that rumble? How about that? So you should be able to hear it, and it's just like a little rumble, which means that fuel line that way is clear, which is good. So the next thing that's going to be the challenge is I brought a fresh white rag. We're going to throw this underneath, because that's where we're heading next to make our mess. Is the fuel line is right here, and it's coming off the pump. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cap this on there, and we're going to see if we get any sort of debris on our rag to see if that's really what was causing our issue. I have a really strong suspicion that it was, and then we'll blow this out and see what we come up with here. See if I can keep that from blowing off. Maybe we'll have to just do this and do like a safety net style, catch a little bit of everything. I just have a feeling when I give it a shot of air it'll blow off, but we're gonna have to cut it, do it, and put the new filter on and everything. I'm gonna blow towards the tank, up through the pump, and we'll put the filter in, clamp, put it all together. So when I blow towards the tank, it should give me a reprieve for a second for all the fuel to go towards the tank before it comes rushing back, which means that I can plug it, put the filter in on one side, the fuel pump side, bring it up, and then plug it in to the the bottom of the tank side. Anyway, it's like all one swift motion, so cross your fingers. Let's see how we do. All right, here we go. So, how do we do? Well, doesn't look too awful, I guess. I'll have to go back and see what the replay was. You all saw it before I did, but down here, we definitely made a mess. And the problem is now we've got a little kinks here, but I think once we move up the fuel pump, it'll bring it up and it'll, you know, put some relief here. Once we bring that up. Oh man, that was awesome. Look how much fuel we brought out on that thing. Probably a quarter gallon maybe. Anyway, we're gonna squeeze these in a little bit more. Then we're gonna suck these down, these clamps. After we bring that together, suck those down, really make that tight, and then we'll adjust our fuel pump up and start reconnecting everything. And hopefully this will help us, along with our secondary filter, to really get all the garbage out of the bottom of this original tank. Again, I did clean it, but stuff always works itself loose, especially after, you know, some rough driving and things. Stuff just kind of falls off. So let's tighten it all down, move some stuff around, and see how it does. So the filter, we've got a new filter in. Whenever I buy these, I always get them in like 2-packs. I always get 2, one to have a good backup. So it's good practice to have. I got them at Vic's, of course. So I've got some jumper clips, alligator clips to my jump pack. And I can control power of the fuel pump. What I want to do is kind of prime the system, just because we blew the air through it, so the entire system is empty. So I want to prime it before to sit there and crank on the starter to let the pump run. So I'm just going to manually override it by controlling the power here in my on and off switch. And we're also going to look for leaks, especially with the new filter on there. Potentially could leak, so we're just going to look for that, see how it, you can hear it prime, you can hear it get louder, or quieter I mean. Alright, you can hear it returning to the tank. Thank you, Mr. Air Conditioner, great timing. So after we've got all that buttoned back together, I don't have the car on the ground quite yet. I want to make sure it, you know, let it sit for a second, make sure it doesn't leak or anything. But with the system pressurized, this is a filter we used, 33248. It's a solid metal one. I like it a little bit better than the clear ones. The clear ones are more for low PSI. Since we're running the fuel injection, I definitely want to have a solid metal one. But this is our old filter. So while that AC unit's over there sitting there running, horrible for the audio, I drained out some of it, but remember this was white and you can see some dark spots on here. See how this stuff is looking. Yeah, that's, I mean, look at that. That's pretty dark. Let me see if I can get something a little bit better here. Oh yeah, look at that. All that brown speckling. Well, the good news is I didn't make it into our injectors, which is great. But the other good news is that these filters from Vic's do a great job, because obviously it caught all this stuff. So, oh, it's getting even darker the more I shake it. Let me see if I can grab the air gun and blow some of it out and see if we can get a better shot of that. All right, let's see if we can get... Oh yeah, look at that. All of that junk. Yeah, that's just little tiny rust particles all caught in that filter, so at least that works. I generally think it was probably some bigger stuff that was actually in the pump. When I shot the air up towards the pump, obviously I didn't see it because I was down underneath, but it took a second, not just to push the fuel out of the way, but it did feel like there was a little bit of a blockage too. So once the air made it through, it started blowing through pretty good. So, I mean, just, that's insane. Good filters. You guys need filters for your X, for your 124, whatever you got. You make sure you pick them up from Vic's. Good filters, because look at all the crap it caught, even after cleaning that tank. So definitely worth the investment. Always grab a couple. I always grab 2, 3 at a time, because they're always just good to have on hand for stuff like this. So I think now we'll put the X back down on the ground after we just prime the system. So we should be able to fire it up pretty quickly and not sit there and crank it forever. But let's get it down and see if it'll fire off and run a little bit better. Alright, so the system is primed. We did that with our jump pack, so we should be able to start relatively simply. But I want to give it a start, make sure nothing's going to fall in the engine bay here. I haven't attached everything, like all the clamps, the breather isn't attached, the filter, none of that's attached. I just want to make sure this works before we do all the work of buttoning it back up to just have to take it all off again. So let's see if we can get this thing to fire up. It's not fired up in about a week-ish. So it may take a second, but let's see what we get. Pretty good, no fuel leak. Show you this. So it looks like we will have to replace one of our rubber isolators for our fuel pump. It's separating over there. I've got some on the shelf. I'm gonna have to do the other one too. But no fuel leaks, so that's good. All right, so let's kill it and let's replace those isolators since we got all this access and before it gets hot. All right, don't want that to get all hot on us as we stick our arm down in there, especially with this nice, shiny overflow tank, also available at Vic Auto Sports. I'll put a link down in the description for you. I really like this thing. But anyway, let's definitely replace those, because now they're really starting to separate. They felt good, but boy, were they failing internally. So let's get those puppies off and swap those out. Also looks like there's some sort of cap down there that may have fallen at some point in the past. Then we can start buttoning all this stuff up and securing it all in. And then maybe we can actually take it for a drive. And when we go out on that drive, we'll see how much better it runs. It was bogging under load. We're just sitting here in neutral, revving it. It's kind of how it was acting before, but as soon as you put it in load, meaning in gear or anything like that, it wants to just die. So time to button it all up, get all this mess cleaned up everywhere. I always make a mess, I don't understand. But we're gonna clean it up and then go around the neighborhood and see what happens. So I'm replacing these rubber pieces here, and these are our new ones. These are of course available from Vic Auto Sports. These are our old ones. I just ended up removing the plate. There's two 10mm bolts that hold it on to the frame of the car, and then one of the bolts that is actually part of that protective skid plate is on the bottom. But I just grabbed a crescent wrench. I think it's like some crazy metric thing, but you can see just how on the verge of destruction that thing is. I mean, it is talking to you with all those cracks in it. But it's just the nut on the back is welded on, so I just grabbed the crescent wrench. This has got a bigger than the 7/8. That's the biggest wrench I had on hand, so this crescent wrench will do the job. Well, in theory do the job, but it's got a edge on it, and so you can kind of get on it there and just crack it loose if it wants to work, and it should thread right out. Well, I say that and then fight the darn thing. All right, well, we're gonna skip that one for now, but the new ones just thread right in, which is fantastic. I'm probably gonna put a little thread locker on it, so I'll pull this one right back out. But it goes right in, tightens right up, thread locker on it, fuel pump, boom, nice and new. Floppy? Not floppy. You can definitely see the properties of isolation have been lost here, so if I can, oh, okay. So we'll thread lock that on there so it won't vibrate off, especially being right by the very bottom and all the suspension and stuff. So we're just gonna do the same thing on these, put it all back in. Ugh. If it wants to play nice. Oh, there it goes. Wait, maybe? I don't know. Clearly I have no idea what's going on here. Ugh. There we go. Man, it should be so much better.
1 hour later.
So we picked up a lot of the stuff, and it feels much better to be cleaning as we go. But now that it's all cleaned up, I kept walking by all of our fuel that we put in this drain pan. Now this drain pan was clean, I wiped it out and everything, but you may notice that there's a, let me get the shadow of the glare off of it, is that there is a dark ring on the inside, which is the lowest spot of the pan. It kind of comes up in the middle and then sinks around, but you can see that dark ring inside the pan, and that's this Look at that sediment and stuff that's in there. That is absolutely insane. Let me see if I can get the gas, drain into another container, and screen out just the contaminants. But you can see that pile of garbage just sitting there, all of that that filter had caught and we had blown out. So I'm really hoping that this is gonna fix our issue, but you can just see all that in there. So when I first cut the line and I pulled it down, that's what dumped in there. So all of this was probably clogging up that line. That did not do us any favors. I mean, look at that, that's horrible. We thought we had that tank cleaned, but I'm glad we're adding that extra filter in there because that is really bad. So maybe we'll take a look at that later. Let some of this kind of dissipate, resettle in some light, and see if we can get a little bit better view at that. But that's pretty bad. So we're going to finally give it a road test here. Going to move the other car and see if we can go around the block. You know, it started up just fine after we primed that system, so I'm hoping that was our issue, but an extra filter doesn't hurt. So we also replaced the rubber isolators that were for the field filter. You know, we had a set of 4, all 4 of them probably needed to be replaced, so it's super solid now. So we're going to move stuff out of the way, hit the road, and see how it goes. All right, so we're going to see how we do here. Fire's right up. It didn't have any leaks, so sounds better. I can't believe we found all that trash in that oil pan, that drain pan. Oh, probably need to remove the you know, chalk from the wheel. That would help. All right, take 2. Now we should be able to move. So what I was doing before is if I would give it anything more than just a slight increase of speed, I was able to shift through multiple gears, but anything more than that, just like a normal acceleration, I just had to baby it. But if I did anything more than a normal acceleration, it just wouldn't take it. It would just buck, and it was horrible. Let's go around the neighborhood here for a minute and see if we have any more of those symptoms. Luckily, I do have a little bit more of a main road on the outside of the neighborhood that we can get up to about 40. If we go down a little bit, 45, that's when I really started to have the issues. I just don't want to have those issues. Been like 5 seconds from when I just turned off that last clip, and we're still having the same issues. Let me see if I can recreate it here. Of course, now it doesn't want to do it. Maybe there's still a little bit in the system it's working out. I don't know. Got another stop sign up here. Maybe it'll do it then. All right, here we are at a stop sign. Complete stop. First gear. See? Kinda did it. Let me go straight. There's another stop sign up here. Comes to idle just fine. I don't know. Maybe there's just a little bit of remnants still in there that it just had to blow out. I don't know. Now it's not wanting to act up again, which is fine. I mean, I'm cool with that. But, you know, I'd much rather not be acting up when we're down. Kinda did right there. I don't know what the deal is. We blew out the lines, new filter, 2 new filters. Alright, we're gonna turn out of the neighborhood onto like the more main road. Make sure there's no cars like now. Not bucking at me now. Let's do a quick U-turn down the other way. Let's go a little ways, see if anything else happens.
One hour later.
Alright, so we started diving into the heat, and we know it doesn't work, but one thing that came to mind is that, well, maybe there's air trapped in the heater core. So, kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but we pulled out the fuse panel, pulled that down, get a little bit better access. And if we open these, we can actually see the heater core in there, and it seems to not be leaking. But what I did do is I went to these lines here, if this will stay up. These lines, I think there's a return and that's our feed. But if I open this up, you know, I loosen this clamp a little bit. And so I pried back a little bit on the rubber hose, and I heard some air coming out. So I think the heat's not working because it's just airlocked. So we're gonna turn the car on. I'm going to start bleeding some air out of that and seeing if the heat will come around. The other thing is, I don't know if the actual cable that opens and closes the valve, which is on ours, is way in the back there, because typically it would be like up here somewhere. But since we have AC, the AC kind of takes up all the spots, so it's relocated back that way. So if we manually open and close it, it'll work. But I don't know if it's connected up here. There's not much resistance when you hit the button, so it could just be loose or need to be adjusted or whatever it is. But we're going to attack this. See if we can get some air out of the system with this, just a little at a time. Try and make sure we don't, you know, make a mess, and see how that goes. Maybe it'll come around. All right, so I think we solved our issue. Let me show you here. We made a little bit of a mess, but up here, that top hose is the top side out of our heater core. So what I did is I took just a pick after walking it back a little ways. Well, stay up. How about that? All right, so after taking a pick, I walked it back a little ways, and I stuck the pick, well, I stuck it into it and popped it open. Well, a lot of air escaped out of there. I could hear it hissing. And so I saw some bubbles, and then it started flowing. You could see some of the remnants of some of the coolant that dripped off there and my rags, but it ended up bleeding it pretty good. So I picked up my thermal gun, and the bottom hose was getting warm. There we go. And then the top hose started getting a little warm too. And that's what I had to do there to try and get that to work, is there was a nice big air pocket. You know, we replaced this radiator with an aluminum one, we bled that system, but we didn't bleed the air out of these hoses that actually come up to the heater core that's up in this box here. So what I did is just bleed the air out there, and it actually worked really good. You don't have to make a huge mess, just a little bit of drips, and it seems to work pretty good. So when I start the car up here, until I was working on it, this hot air started coming out. So we know it's working. If I come in here, it'll work with me. Our heater core is actually in there. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this thing in there, but there we go. Our heater core is in here. So it looks like we were able to bleed that successfully just by popping that hose a little open. Cut this off. So cut that off. So now we've got heat. So I'm really glad that was actually a pretty quick fix of just bleeding that out, because we didn't bleed it when we bled the new radiator install and everything. But now we actually have heat, which is pretty nice. The trick though is to only use the center ones. If you use these, they don't work as good, just because it takes so long to travel in the ducting. It's not as warm out of here. So that's the place to go, just kind of like the air conditioning. Well guys, I think that's going to be the end of this episode. We were able to figure out why we weren't running so well, and it was because all of that rust and debris was clogging those lines. So we added that secondary filter to really make sure we don't have that again. So worst case, we just swap out the filter and keep going. And we have heat. As things are starting to cool down this year, it's really nice to have heat. So it is nice to be able to drive comfortably. We've got the AC working on those warmer days, and now we have heat on those cooler days. So there's a little bit of stuff here and there. We're getting towards the end of this, which is weird because this has probably been the nicest car I've worked on the channel probably ever. Maybe besides the bus, but most complete, especially being all original and everything. It's turned out pretty sweet for us. So the next question is, I mean, there's still some content on this. Don't worry. We don't have door jamb lights. Our lights don't work when we open the doors, and I think our hazards don't work. I think that's the other thing we got to work on. And I think that's it. Yeah, so there's still some more to come, but what are we gonna do after this one? I'm keeping this, hate to break it to you, but I'm also keeping the bus. So we can only fit 2 cars in the garage, so we need to figure out what we want to do next. I don't know. You guys tell me down in the comments down below, what do you want to see next? Do you want to see another Fiat? Do you want to see a different kind of car? Do you want to see a truck? You know, Jesse's doing a 40s pickup truck over on his channel, over at Eldest Builds. People seem to like that, but there's all sorts of cars out there to save, and we just happen to be hooked on the Fiat itch for a while now. So maybe you want to see something else. I don't know. You just put it down in the comments down below. Maybe you want to see another one. You know, gotta find another one to do another one, I guess. But just let me know down in the comments. Make sure you're also checking out our merchandise website. There's a link for that down below. You can get shirts with the X19 on it, 124, the 850, our logo, all sorts of good stuff. And now that it's getting cooler, we're going to be adding long sleeves and hoodies and stuff like that to the website. I know some people have been kind of emailing me separate for that, wanting to know when those are coming out. So when this video comes out, the website will have long sleeves and hoodies and jackets, all sorts of good stuff to wear throughout the winter time. So with that, I think that's going to be the end of this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps the channel, so please make sure you do that. Only about 25% of the people that watch the channel are subscribed, so please make sure you do that. It's free content here for you on YouTube, and it would mean so much to me to keep these cars going on the road for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see ya.